you didn't bring your mic stand?
So
I
yeah.
have it. I just don't know where to put it.
Oh, it's not so. The table is low.
Yeah, the table is. I do have the arms, but I need to put it together. And I'm not good at doing that. So
Yeah, all right. Well, I guess you're going to be over here like Diana Ross tonight.
well, on today's episode,
As a matter of fact, you should bring us in tonight.
Well, those people, the handhelds, or people are using those more. I've noticed on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah,
true.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I could not. I'm feeling sorry for her. She got to hold that thing in her hand the
right. The
entire.
whole time.
Mike, Dave. Oh man. So hey, we want to welcome everybody to Passive Games for Life, where we teach you the mindset, the skill sets, and the tool sets, so you get the assets, so you can get Passive Games for Life. I'm your host Roger. We got Dave, we have Queenie, and we got our returning guest Brandon. Brandon, welcome back, sir.
Thank you so much. It's good to be on here again. I know that we talked about mindset a little bit the last time, and you guys wanted to talk about assets now. So I'm very excited to jump on here and drop some bombs, some golden nuggets, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you guys keep up to date on all of the time sensitive material that Roger releases. So definitely, there'll be a link down below.
Thank you for that, Brandon. Appreciate that. And how has life been for you, man?
Oh man. Well, we were just talking off the air. I bought a new computer, and it's been a little bit frustrating, but we'll see how that goes through this training or this podcast. And other than that, I mean, I just bought four new cars last month, so that was a lot of fun. So we'll go over, I guess, my strategies with that and what I'm doing with that. So that should be a lot of fun things up ahead.
Well, hey, you go right ahead, man. I'm gonna leave the floor open for anybody that wants to ask any questions. Other than that, I'll let Brandon take it away. But by all
Yeah.
means, man, do your thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I'll go bef- for all the people that maybe didn't watch the first episode when I was on. I would definitely go watch that. I had some knowledge bombs that were I think were great, and I think David liked some of those too.
Oh
And
yeah.
so if you want to, I think Roger will link the first episode also.
Most
But I
definitely.
talked about mindset, and today we're going to be talking about assets. And previously, I was a personal trainer, made a lot of money, invested in real estate because I didn't want to keep exchanging time for money. Because as a personal trainer, even though I own my own business, I had a lot of bosses. All my clients were my bosses. And if I decided to not show up one day to their sessions, then I wasn't going to get paid. And so I had to think of another way to essentially get out of that trading time for money. And if you ever played or looked at the cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, he talks about being employed, being self-employed, being a business owner or a big business, and then being an investor. And so those first two on the left, which is employed and self-employed, you're essentially still trading time for money, even if you were self-employed. And so that's what I was as a personal trainer. I was trading time for money, and that wasn't a way to get ahead of life in life. You have to leverage the money that you make to buy assets in order to buy back your time. And so that's what I was like. I'll do that. Start buying real estate. And so in 2000, from like 2015 to 2020, we bought real estate every single year. And in doing so, I was like, okay, I got my 10 rental properties. If they all make $1,000, I can make easily well over six figures. But then I realized that I have to wait 30 years for the mortgages to kind of fall off, and to have that actual cash. I mean, it was cash flowing positively, and I was getting appreciation, and it was appreciating over the course of the years. But I wasn't getting that six figure paycheck every year because, well, kind of I was, but and we'll get over that in a second, but. I was getting about $100 to $150 a door. And so what I mean by that is after debt service, after insurance, after capital expenditures, repairs, all the things that go into taxes, all the things that go into assets, Did we lose Roger? We essentially um, we only have like $100 to $200 a door, and that's not a much to live off of. So in doing so, I was like, okay, well, we need to figure something else out. We can't just have only our real estate. We need to, diversify. And so what I ended up doing was actually leaving the fitness industry because I was kind of bored of it and tired of it because of, I just had a bunch of bosses that waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning to train all my life, to train my clients. And then from there, have the middle of the day.
Lost me, then we lost Brandon.
No, I'm here.
No, Brandon's still there.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
here.
you just messed up his flow.
Oh.
So,
Let me see if I can get. Okay. Never mind then.
I'll just wait. You ready, Roger?
I don't think he hears us. Yeah,
I can hear you. I just can't hear Brandon.
Oh,
Oh.
we can hear Brandon.
we hear Brandon.
Oh, man.
You know what? When Brandon's done, then he'll put his thumb up. So we.
Okay. I'll stay quiet.
Okay.
All right. So I was only getting $100 to $200 a door. That's not much to live off of. And then I was like, I'm bored of training. I'll essentially just leave the fitness industry. I ended up going to Burning Man. My wife moved to Texas. We were married at the time. She moved to Texas, and after about a month, I finished up with all my clients, went to Burning Man, and then drove to Texas to meet her there. And then I started my whole online business. But during that time, I had a car rental. I had a car that I was renting out on an app called Toro. And I think we talked about this previously, David. But
Yeah.
I had one car that was making me about $700 a month. And I was like, well, that's better than the cash flow I'm getting from my real estate, but I'm not getting the appreciation. I'm not getting, all the tax benefits, but I'm getting high cash flow. And so that was completely paid off. And so I was like, at the beginning of 2023, actually at the top of the market, we sold all of our real estate. I took all those profits. I paid my wife's student loan debt off of $151,000 in student loan debt, and then we bought this house. And this house is 3,500 square feet on a 9,100 square foot lot. We have like 4 bedrooms, plus this office, so that's 5, and then we have a theater, which is 6, and then we have a guest floor upstairs. So with that, we pretty much exited at the best time, locked in a super low interest rate for our own place, and then we ended up pretty much increasing our net worth because we got rid of like $1 million in debt from the real estate and bought this house, which then appreciated in double. So we did really, really well by selling all that, paying off her student loan debt, which increased our net worth. And then like what I was getting into is at the beginning of 2023, I was like, you know what, this car rental thing is actually doing better than real estate. Maybe I should buy a second car. And so I was like, so I did. I bought a second car at the beginning of 2023. It was getting 5% interest rate, which was pretty high, I thought, because I'm used to like 2-3% for cars. But I was like, you know what? I'll just give it a go. If anything, if it doesn't get rented out, my one car is paying for both cars essentially. And so in doing so, it was always rented out. So I was like, this is cool. Maybe I should add another car. And so I ended up buying 2 cars. And so that put me at 4. And they were all rented out. And then the very first car that I had was not doing so well. It was still always rented out, but it was older. It had 141,000 miles on it. A lady hit a dead animal driving on the way back, and it screwed up the bumper. And instead of paying $3,000 to fix it all up, I was like, you know what, I'll just sell this. Sold that for $10,000, rolled those profits into 2 more cars. And so now I have 5 cars that are always rented out. And now they're just cash flowing all the time. And so people will ask me like, Brandon, like, where do you store all these cars if you have 5 cars? And I'm like, well, I don't have to because they're always rented out. And so I'm thinking of adding more. And so I just started a car rental company, my own website essentially, where I can get more demand. And so I kind of accidentally started a car rental business just on the side. And so now I have a lot more demand than I have supply. So now I'm looking at creative ways to start buying up more cars. So, and with that, I can do a lot of cool things because I'm used to real estate where you can do like owner will rent to own, where I can essentially rent back some of these cars to the people and then charge a higher, I guess, ticket price. And part of their rent for renting my car will go towards if they wanted to purchase it. So I have a few private renters now. I have 2 private renters that are renting cars that are paying me about $1,200 a month to rent my car. And that's way better than any cash flow wise, any real estate property I've ever had. And so I can then sell it to them, charge a deposit, grab the deposit and roll that into more property or more, I guess, car rentals while I essentially have them pay down the current one that they're using. And so, and then I can exit from it, I can grow it, I can scale it, I can put people in it to run it. So there's a lot of exits that I can use based on my experience in real estate. I can use that in this car rental business too. So pretty fun stuff.
How does that work with the car insurance? That's
So
a
I
lot
have
of
commercial insurance. So I buy it through a private company, and then I also so there's 2 options. So when I do it privately, I have commercial insurance, but when I rent it through Toro or hire a car, the insurance is active. Their insurance is active. Toro is when I use theirs.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Man, that's awesome. Getting that
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. So, Brandon, is there a fee pertaining to Toro?
So you give up a percentage of your profits. So the way it's set up is if you want to give up 65, say you take 65 and you give them Toro 45, then you'll have a lower deductible for insurance. You'll have like different little benefits, but I don't really do that. I take 90%, they take 10%, just so I can increase my cash flow as much as possible. Because once you get to a certain amount of cash flow, your risk kind of subsides because you have enough cash flow to overcome like a lot of the maintenance or repairs or anything like that. So it's kind of just like with economies of scale. Once you have enough assets that are, I guess, cash flowing positively, they kind of, I guess, overtake the debt service that you'll need or any kind of issues that will arise because you have that free cash flow coming in.
Okay.
Now, I would like to ask this question. I know you guys lost me earlier. I'm still kind of, trying to weigh in here. Like, you may have answered this question. How would one start this?
Yeah, so I didn't go over that, but essentially what I did is when I was a trainer, I was always at home, not at home, but my car wasn't being used essentially that often, and so I just put it on Toro. I just put in the VIN, put in some pictures, and if it's a clean title, not a rebuild or a salvage title, then and it's under a certain amount of miles, then they just allow anyone to go on. And so, which is kind of great. And so I put on one car and it was going well for 2-3 years. And then it wasn't until this year that I was like, you know what, I should probably add a second car. And that's when I started kind of scaling it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
this is good because have a B. So this is good because you, like you say, accidentally went into the car rental business and
right.
you didn't even realize at first. And this is something that you can scale
And
and
there's a
you can
lot
make
of you can scale, but there's a lot of ways to exit too. So
exactly.
that's the best part. Is it's a legitimate business that you can at some point exit from. So for instance, like if I get a small piece of land that's in front of a mechanic, down the street here. They have a huge piece of land, and say I put a parking lot there, and I then have like 20 cars. I have a place that's right behind me that I can set up a deal with to do all the repairs. And then I can either put an operator in there where like I get a college kid working $20 an hour or whatever to manage the whole thing, and maybe say enterprise or rent a car or budget buys me out, and so I can exit that way. I can then, or say, for instance, sell it to a private investor who wants just the cash flow, and they can buy the business itself. So I can sell a small business. I can then, or I can put the kid working there, and then I can do it in another location that I deem fit. Or I can franchise it out. So there's a lot of different options to take this business and grow it and have different verticals within the business.
Wow. I mean, wow, that is like amazing. So you started out with one, and then you just kind of slowly kept adding on. Now it's like you got like a
Yeah.
mini car rental company at a house.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of how I started with real estate. We bought one, and then like that's the hardest one to get into. Is like your first asset because it's usually a larger down payment for a house. You usually have to put 20% down. Same thing with a car. It's like, ooh, do I buy a car? Do I use my own car? Do I need to get a second car? And then do I have to drive? Like, if you work a 9 to 5, is it always used? Am I only going to put it on the weekend? Do I have kids that I need to drive people? So it's getting over that first kind of hurdle. And then once you get your second car, you're like, okay, both are actually rented out. Same thing with the houses. This house pays for these two mortgages and then some. So that's kind of a safety net. As long as one's rented out completely, it pays for both of them essentially. So you only need like 50% occupied on when we bought our real estate. Same thing with the cars. Like this one car covered both cars essentially if anything happened. And so then I was like, okay, well now we're at 3 houses or 3 cars. And so that pays for a lot more than what I need, and it's cash flowing super positive. And now you're comfortable with kind of the market, where you're buying, and that sort of thing. So it's pretty fun.
Okay, I have a question. So, seeing that this is your business, of course, I don't know much about taxes, but how taxes work. Seeing that, I know you can write off a lot of stuff. So, how does taxes work in pertaining to your business right now?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not a financial advisor,
Of
and
course.
I'm a tax attorney, so I can only explain how I do it. So I would definitely, anyone who's listening, talk to your financial advisor or your tax professional. But for me, I know that one, cars are a depreciating asset, so you can depreciate the value of the car. Also, since it's a business expense, all my insurance, all of that I can write off. I don't really have to pay for gas because the person that's renting it pays for the gas. So it's more of, if you think about it, it's more of a way to harvest your taxes, or kind of reduce your expenses and lower your taxable income, because when you depreciate the asset, you're going to depreciate it more than what you're usually making from the car. And so that's why a lot of these big companies have so many cars, is because they cash flow so well that the depreciating asset kind of wipes out that cash. So it's kind of like free money, which is kind of nice. So then, I mean, what you can do then is, that's why it's talked about getting into doing rent to own, because then I can depreciate it and then sell it. I'll obviously have to have my tax guy re-add the depreciation, but the value of the car is going to be lower. So there could be a loss there essentially. So there's all sorts of things you could do to do that. And you would want to talk with a professional. That's why I hire people to do that kind of stuff. But that's as much as I know when it comes to our taxes with with the car rental business. What also a cool little tip, if you guys want to write this down, is you can put typically $5,000 down on a credit card when you buy your car rental. So I put down 5,000, I get the points on my credit card, and I pay that right away, and then I can use those to travel for free or whatever that is, and I don't have to pay
Oh
anything on
wow,
that.
that's cool. Oh, you got a lot of good info there.
Yeah, so
So what are
like
benefits?
for me, when we were getting our Southwest card, if you live in the United States, you can get 2-for-1 flights, and in doing so, it's called a companion pass. And so you need to spend like I think it's 3,000 on a personal card and 5,000 on a business card to get the bonus points in order to get the companion pass to hit the limit. So you only need to spend about 8,000 and to do that. So essentially, you can buy 2 cars, pay off obviously the 8,000 within I think 3 months, and then you can get 132,000 bonus points or the 135,000 bonus points. And me and my wife pretty much travel for the next 2 years on those points without having to pay anything for her, just using my points to fly myself, and she comes for free. So that's a cool little thing you can do.
Oh yeah, those credit card points are the way to go, man. That's all I've
Yeah.
been hearing about, man. People who
I
do
love it.
good
Well, you have to
cash
think
flow.
like credit cards are made for wealthy people.
Yeah.
The people that are paying that don't pay them down, that pay the minimum, that are accruing interest, are the ones that are paying the benefits from like me, who pay them off every single month, and they give me 2-for-1 flights. They give us 135 thousand bonus points. All these things that I don't have to pay for. I never pay interest on my credit cards, and all the people that do pay interest are paying for my benefits. So I thank you.
Crazy.
Oh, that was
Man.
good,
Yeah. So
man. Go ahead, David.
Toro, I've never heard of Toro before. I mean, you explained it to me, but I can't believe you rent cars. What else could you rent? Like, I think you said
So
MacBooks or whatever, right?
So that's Fat Llama. So Toro, and so there's Toro and there's hire car. Toro is like for people that are um, their car breaks down, it's in the shop, they need to get a car. They're in visiting, traveling, they need a car. Instead of going to rent enterprise or budget, they go on Toro and they rent peer to peer. So it's like Airbnb for your car. And
Okay.
so whenever we travel, we use Toro because it's cheaper. It's you usually can get better cars for cheaper, and you're not getting destroyed in fees like the rental car companies that you're paying them for fees. And so, with as far as like MacBooks and drones and electronics, there's another website called Fat Llama, and you can rent out all your electronics on there. But the other one, Hire Car, which is more for people that want to drive Uber, but they need a car. So they'll essentially go on Hire Car, rent out a car, and use that car to drive for Uber or Lyft. And so Uber doesn't allow, or sorry, Turo doesn't allow you to do rideshare. Only HireCar does. So those are two different kind of clientele that you're going after. People that are on vacation or maybe need a car for the week or for repair usually take care of their car a little bit better. People in HireCar are doing it for business. They're getting people that are drunk, on the weekends or whatever. So a whole different kind of a lot more wear and tear. So with that said, you can charge a premium on hire car versus Toro. It's not as premium essentially because you're kind of paying for the wear and tear by having that larger or the higher price point on hire car.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I do want to say, from everything you said, I know sometimes we talk about having a 9 to 5, how is nobody want to have a 9 to 5. You want to have money work for you. But I keep telling people that even if you have a 9 to 5 or whatever job you have right now, you take that money and you invest it into
Yeah,
something else.
100.
Exactly. And that's exactly what you did. And now passive income, it just keep flowing every single month.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on the last podcast, where I think that a lot of people think that, I mean, one of that, I agree with you. 9 to 5 is great. If you have excess cash flow that you can use and you're not horrible with money, you can use your excess cash flow to buy assets. But And you're much better. You're going to be loaned to much easier than I am
Right.
because banks like to see a stable W-2 employee versus an entrepreneur. They're going to want to like it's much easier to get a loan, and so they're much more happy for to loan with W-2 employees. But like you said, like you can buy cars and have them rented out. So for instance, we go on vacation again in like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. We're going to Cabo for 5 days, and so I have lock boxes on my car, and so people will just come to my house, put in the code, and grab the key and then bounce. And same with what you can do working a 9 to 5 is you have a second car at your house or wherever you want to put it, put a lockbox on it. They'll go to a location, pick up the car, and then that could essentially you get enough cars where they cover all your bills, so your break-even point. So you figure out what it costs you to live, your mortgage or rent, food every single month, um, medical insurance, basic debts, and that sort of thing. And you calculate that magic number, that freedom number, and you shoot for that with your cash flowing assets instead of trying to replace your income at your 9 to 5. Because I'm just throwing random numbers out there. Say you make 60,000, and you're like, okay, I need to make 60,000 to quit my job, and I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Because if you do that, now you're making 120,000, and if you do, it's going to be much harder to quit your job and be like, oh, I'm only going to make $60,000 a year again versus 120. And so instead, if you break even, you buy back your time. So say your break even point is like $3,500 a month instead of the 5,000 at your job. So now you only need to hit 3,500. So it's like 40% less of to actually hit that number, and it's not as big of a hit when you give up 60,000 versus 120. And so if you break even, you essentially buy back 8 to 12 hours of your life back every single day, and then you can grow that business, either buying more cars or starting an online business or whatever that is for you, whatever your side hustle is. And so I tell people to shoot for break even because it's much more, I guess, it's not much of a mind F when you're giving up, 6,000. You're not giving as much up because you're not taking a 50% hit. You're only taking a 30% hit or a 20% hit on your income. So I think that if you break even, it's much more, it doesn't hurt the mind as much by giving up 50% of your profits.
Okay.
I
Makes
like
sense.
that.
Hey, I wanted to pause right quick before we move forward. I need to check this recording because the entire time I I can't see you at all, Brandon. All I got
Yeah.
is a black box. So I had to open up a live window so I could hear you, but I can't see you. So if you can give me a second, let me check the recording, make sure everything is good, and then we can keep going.
We'll talk amongst ourselves.